Hello, and welcome to the latest of my videos relating to alcoholism and how people like you and I can beat it through, in my case, Baclofen and a dedicated, personalized, individual program of support to go along with that. Following this video, all the remaining videos will discuss the program that I've devised for myself and have used very successfully in very many other people all around the world. But today I want to finally discuss that in order to successfully manage what I believe is a chronic, progressive, potentially fatal, proper medical disease, we have to first understand that disease and believe what it is. If we do this, then we're much better able to deal with and manage, ultimately control and hopefully cure that progressive medical condition. In the last video, I outlined that people like you and I are probably born with abnormal brains, or at least small parts of them, that simply don't function like other people's. Having that presumably genetic or inherited, or at least born with predisposition, doesn't necessarily mean that we're all going to become alcoholics or addicted to something. For instance, if I lived in Saudi Arabia, for example, where alcohol is illegal and extremely difficult to get hold of, the chances of me becoming an alcoholic are virtually nil. It is my premise that we live in what I refer to as a toxic alcohol environment. And I believe this is of fundamental importance as a concept for all of us to understand fully if we're going to be successful in beating our own personal disease. So what do I mean by a toxic alcohol environment? I mean a culture where we live, where alcohol is everywhere. It's completely readily available 24 hours a day. Licensing laws mean that public houses, clubs and bars can open 24 hours a day if they wish. Alcohol is extremely cheap. In many supermarkets in the UK, alcohol is used as a loss leader and is actually cheaper than bottled water. There is readily available, extremely strong beers and ciders available extremely cheaply. Next, we have very active marketing of alcohol, particularly to young people. And in the UK at the moment, there's a big worry about the number of young people, especially women, who are what we call preloading with very cheap supermarket bought alcohol before they go out for their evening socializing. And our culture has developed where alcohol is socially acceptable to such a degree that not only is openly drinking in public perfectly okay, and quite rightly so. Why shouldn't it be? But we now are extremely tolerant of groups of young people, particularly, being openly drunk, even almost semi-comatose, in our city centres in the evening. We frown upon it, but it goes on all the time. Hospital casualty departments are full of alcohol-related problems every weekend. Next, we look at, in a toxic alcohol environment, the addictive potential of the substance in question, in our case alcohol, and it is known to be extremely addictive. It is not as addictive as some illegal drugs, but it is probably more addictive than some other currently illegal drugs. Next, we have to look at the cost of maintaining the habit. If alcohol was prohibitively expensive, I would not be able to afford to be an alcoholic and would have to resort to illegal measures such as stealing, burglary, in women's cases often prostitution, to fund the habit, as they do with things like cocaine and heroin. So it's actually quite a cheap addiction to continue to fund, and it's perfectly legal. As I said at the beginning, if it was illegal, I personally am not the kind of person who would have got involved with it. Lastly, when you're looking at a toxic environment for anything, you also have to look at the profitability for criminals. Now, fortunately, this doesn't really apply to alcohol, as it does with other illegal substances. So once you fully accept that firstly you were born with a tendency to become addicted to something because you have a chronic state of anxiety or any other psychological condition that is related to an abnormality in part of your brain, then if there is a way of controlling that anxiety that is cheap, readily available, perfectly legal, socially acceptable, low cost to maintain the habit, and it works, then not only is alcoholism entirely understandable, it becomes entirely predictable. Once I realized this for myself, the concept of how to manage my own alcoholism became so much easier. And it's become so much easier for the people that I help. When they understand this, it gives us a format for dealing with it. Baclofen is a fundamentally important part of that. But dealing with how we interact with our toxic alcohol environment is also fundamentally important, as is my Baclofen support program, which I will discuss over the next 7 or 8 videos. So that's it for today. I hope you found the video so far to be interesting and informative, and I'll see you in about a week or so's time to start discussing the programs and Baclofen in detail. Okay, thank you.